from the Forest View Educational Center in Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's the 1993 IHSA Boys Gymnastics State Meet. Hello again, everybody. I'm Randy Hahn, and welcome to our coverage of the IHSA Championships here on Sports Channel. This is the 36th year for this event, not the 36th year for us here on Sports Channel, but it has become an annual event for us, and we're very happy to be back again, and happy to be working with Rob Brown, the 1982 overall Boys Gymnastics champion in Illinois. Rob, this is always a great meet. It was a great meet last year. No difference here this year tonight.
Absolutely, Randy. The level of gymnastics has increased every year very quickly in the last decade, and tonight's going to be no exception. You're going to see some high-level skills, some great gymnastics.
All right, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the format of an event like this, there are 6 primary events. They will be broken up into 3 groups of 2, and that's how we'll be presenting them to you throughout this evening. Let's talk a little bit about the 6 events, 2 by 2, beginning with the floor exercise, and one of the most difficult events technically, the pommel horse.
That's right, and floor exercise is kind of like a real basic thing that the athletes have to achieve. You're going to see a lot of, again, tumbling forward and backwards, acrobatic skills. Again, front and backwards, and you're also going to see some strength moves on the floor, so it's a combination of things. And the pommel horse, the most difficult event in men's gymnastics. The primary skill are the circles, which you can see they're being done here. Working all parts of the horse. Again, you're on your hands all the time. Very difficult event.
All right, we should mention that for the purposes of demonstration, the athletes you're seeing in this segment here are all of the 1992 IHSA Boys State Champions. All right, now to the second set of events, the still rings, obviously a very difficult strength event, and one of your specialties when you were a great gymnast, Rob, a few years ago, the vault.
The vault. And rings, again, is swing and strength. The judge is going to look for nice handstands, which we're seeing here, swinging skills, and again, those strength moves, those static moves where the athlete's not moving. Combination of those 2 things. And the vault is basically a run, a jump, and a landing. He jumps off the springboard, hands onto the vaulting horse, flip, twist, take the landing. Basically it, but not as easy as it looks.
All right, the final 2 events we will bring to you tonight, the parallel bars, and then we always save the best for last. The most exciting event, I don't care if it's Olympics or a state meet or whatever kind of meet, that's the high bar.
Absolutely. And again, P-bars, not as easy as it looks. You're on your hands the whole time. The judges, again, are looking for primarily swing moves that move through the handstand, back to the handstand, and also strength moves. And again, nice dismount. And as you mentioned, high bar, the most exciting event. Mostly swing. The athlete is not allowed to stop. He's constantly moving. Has to do release moves where you regress the bar. And again, high flying dismounts. Very exciting event. Should be great tonight.
All right, obviously with this being the state meet, the final meet of the year for these athletes, we have the best in the state of Illinois, and really we have the elite of the elite here tonight in John Wasik, a young man from Mundelein, who earlier in this meet broke the all-around all-time record for the state of Illinois. I guess he's the best ever now in this state.
Absolutely. Just dominated the all-around this weekend. Averaged a 9.5, just crushed the record, crushed the competition. He's excellent on every event, and of course that's what it takes to be a great all-rounder. Expect to see great gymnastics from him tonight.
We'll watch especially for him. We'll also watch for a young man who really was chasing him in the all-around competition from Whitney Young, Darian Knight.
And Darian really wanted to win. He really set his goal on, hey, I can catch this guy. He's only a sophomore. He needs to polish himself up a little bit. Very strong. Again, look for great things from him tonight, and he's going to be showing us great things in the next couple of years also.
At least on paper, those are the 2 premier athletes in this field, but there's a lot of others who have a shot to win any one of these 6 events, not the least of which is Kevin Izumi from Elk Grove Village. He'll be very busy here tonight as well.
That's right. Kevin, very strong, very consistent. We're going to see him on 5 events tonight, and again, he fulfills all his requirements, looks good, sticks his landings, should do some great routines tonight.
And another one we'll watch with interest, a young man who really up until a couple of weeks ago went through a stretch where he was academically ineligible, and that's Ryan Trent from Naperville North, and we'll see how he rebounds from that adversity.
That's right, and Ryan likes to, he's called the rebel. He doesn't like to do things like the other athletes. He wants to stand out. Unfortunately, had trouble with the academics, but regrouped, got himself together, got in shape, and had a great weekend, and we should see some good sets from him tonight also.
All right, in a meet such as this, there are actually 3 competitions. There's the all-around, which, as we mentioned, John Wasik has already won and, in fact, broke the all-time record. There's the individual competitions for the events which we are going to show you tonight. And within all of that is also the team competition, which is competed for. Mundelein, which, of course, John Wasik anchors. has run away with first place. They really can't be caught, so the battle is for second place.
That's right.
Rob.
We're looking for Naperville, Libertyville, and Hinsdale Central to battle it out. Naperville and Libertyville have 5 guys in the finals, so we'll look for their scores to increase. And the way you increase your team score is by improving on your preliminary qualifying score. That difference is added onto your team total, and we'll see what the totals are after the competition today.
All right, we'll keep an eye on the team competition, but we'll really keep an eye on some outstanding athletes. I think you're going to really enjoy our coverage here tonight. It's the 1993 IHSA Illinois State Gymnastics Boys Finals, and we'll be back to get things started in just a moment. Welcome back to Arlington Heights. Randy Hahn along with Rob Brown. We're just about set to get the 1993 IHSA State Boys Gymnastics meet underway. Just before we do that, as we mentioned, John Wasik from Mundelein, the outstanding senior, was the all-around champion earlier in this meet, and he got a great ovation receiving his medal. He shattered the all-time all-around record with a 9.5 average in 6 events. The old record was 9.32, set by another former Mundelein star, T.J. Dortch, back in 1990. Dortch now at Oklahoma. Actually, it was an outstanding performance as we look at the top 5 finishers. All right, we're ready to begin our competition. Here's the first floor exercise. It is underway, and you are looking on the floor exercise at, as we said, our first competitor, Kevin Izumi. And Kevin looking to pick up some good scores in a number of events here, Rob, as we look at his exercise.
Absolutely. Kevin's a really consistent athlete. He opened with a front step out through the run-off flip double back. Had little trouble in the landing, but a very, very difficult opening pass. Moves through some front tumbling. You just saw a handspring piked front. And this next skill is called a side scale. And a balance on one hand or one leg is a requirement, so he's fulfilling a requirement right here.
He tied for the second best qualifying score, a 9.30.
And he moves through another run-off flip double back. And again, you saw the low landing, looked a little tired, didn't get the acceleration on the stand-up. And a low landing, touch out, big deduction.
Just before we go to the first pommel horse, let's look at the requirements, if we could, for the floor exercise, so you'll have an idea of what we are watching for as we watch these athletes in the floor exercise throughout the evening. Rob, if you could basically describe what they're watching for.
On floor, the athlete's required to do 1 tumbling skill of C value, 1 B value strength part, and 1 hold part on the floor.
Quickly now to the pommel horse. This is the all-around champion that we just saw, John Wasik.
And he mounts with a very difficult skill. He was on the pommel with about 3 skills. Again, very difficult. He had about 9 hand placements. One thing to look for, although he's doing difficult skills, you can see all the small form breaks. And again, it's 1 or 2 tenths for every split in the legs, every bend in the legs. Again, very difficult. Now he's into flare circles, and he's going to get ready for his dismount. No pommel travel, and he comes back across the horse. Very good, very difficult routine. Got through it. Again, a lot of small form deductions, so it's kind of a balance out.
He had a 9.7 in qualifying. That was the best. Let's look at the requirements for the pommel horse, a very difficult, very technical event.
The athlete's required to do 2 scissor skills in concession. They have to use all parts of the horse and face both directions, and double leg circles, which is the main skill on pommel horse, has to be performed on all parts of the apparatus.
That is Matt Goldstein from Hoffman Estates. Goes to Conant there as he gets ready for his floor exercise.
And right now we're having a conference on the free exercise. The judges have gotten together to conference Kevin Izumi's floor score. And what happens here is basically the judges are out of range. So the head judge will call them in and say, hey guys, we're out of range. What's going on? They'll look down at their skills. Are we all looking at the same skills, same deductions? They'll try to come in closer together.
Do the judges need a warm-up period here, too, with the first couple of athletes? Do they need to get adjusted, too?
You know, actually they do. It's although they all know the requirements and the skills, sometimes they're just kind of looking at things a little differently. So that gave them a chance to get together and focus on the same things.
Izumi picked up an 8.6 on his first pass in the floor exercise. Now, as promised, Matt Goldstein from Conant.
And Matt's first pass, nice, run-off flip double back. You saw the height, he almost kicked out of that. Beautiful landing. And that is one of those C skills that is a requirement, so he got that right out of the way. And now here's the strength part. we talked about. He is pressing to handstand. Nicely done. He's required to hold the handstand to get credit for that skill. And a nice handspring stretch front, head spring tuck front. Nice forward tumbling pass. And so far working very well. And there's that balance on one leg. Although it looks easy, it's an area where sometimes the gymnast might bobble and give away a 10th.
This is the only event in which we will see Matt perform tonight.
And nice layout bounding backs for dismount. Very clean. He's got to be happy with that routine. That's what you got to do in finals, hit routines.
So Matt Goldstein with his floor exercise, he was the 5th best qualifier at 9.15. 9.2.
And here again, we're looking at his dismount. There's the first back, and he's going to punch right into another layout back. Nice landing. He's working on not taking any steps. Great set.
Here's Darian Knight from Whitney Young. Just as he mounts the horse, we'll tell you that Wasik picked up a 9.2. That was his same score at the sectional, but earlier in this competition he had a 9.25. Here's Knight.
We just watched Darian move through a flared mega travel, very difficult skill. Now he's moving through those scissor skills which are required, back into double leg circles. It's called a Stockley out, and he pops right to a handstand. Beautiful routine, packed with difficulty. Again, a little soft on the form and the extension during the routine, but otherwise a great set.
He had an outstanding qualifying score, a 9.35.
And again, we see him moving through double leg circles. He breaks into his scissor skills. That was a reverse scissor, now a forward scissor. Picks back up into double leg circles. And watch the dismount. Stockley out, he's gonna pop right up the handstand. Right here, he struggles a little bit. That's a small deduction, but packed with difficulty in that routine.
And the ovation you hear is for Mundeleин's Ray Gradecki as you look at Darian Knight.
And Ray mounts with a very unique thing. It's a punch layout front. And usually you might see that as a second pass. And that's called a V-L position. And that fulfills his hold part.
Gradecki, a senior for Mundelein, an 8.25 in qualifying. That was 9th best of the 10 that made it to this level.
And we just saw a beautiful show of flexibility. His shoulders almost look like they're dislocating. And a second pass, nice layout back. Ray's taking his time, making sure he executes everything perfectly. Nice landings. And there was that scale again on one leg. And now his last pass. Run a flip-flop, full twist, little hop on the landing. Again, nice clean routine. He took his time, make sure he hit everything the way he wanted to. Maybe a little soft in difficulty, but again, nice clean routine. And again, here's a look at his last pass. Run a flip-flop, full twisting back, and there's that little hop. That'll be 1 or 2 tenths off. Nice set.
Mike Gendreas now from Wheeling as he takes to the pommel horse.
And he also mounts with a difficult skill. He's on the pommel, single pommel doing 2 skills. Flare travels. And now he breaks into his scissor skills. There's a reverse scissor. Here's the forward scissor. Back into double leg circles. Looking good right now. And a nice front out loop off. Short and sweet, had all his requirements. That's what you have to do on pommel horse. You have to be clean. Take care of all your requirements and you're going to score well.
Darian Knight, the man to beat early on the pommel horse. He recorded a 9.3 as we see Gendreas.
And there we saw him move through flare travel without the pommels. And again, the scissor skills. Nice height. And the dismount, front out loop off. Again, short and sweet, maybe a little soft on difficulty, but he hit the routine. That's the main thing.
This is John Wasik from Mundelein.
Awesome mount. That's an international level skill. It was a full twisting Arabian 1 and 3. And again, a very difficult skill because he's coming in on a head first landing. And now the second pass. On a flip-flop, stretched Arabian 1 and 3. Again, that was the same skill he did for his mount, but without the full twist. Still very difficult. So right now on a difficulty level, he's way ahead of the crowd.
Wasik with an outstanding 9-7 in his qualifying floor exercise to basically blow away the field.
And around a flip double back. Ooh, he came out a little early. You saw the hands touch. That's going to be a 3/10 deduction. So out to that point, excellent routine. Just thought he was a little higher, kicked out too soon. You saw the hand touch.
Unlikely he'll duplicate the 9-7 in qualifying. Still takes it to another level, clearly, Rob.
Absolutely. Those big skills are worth at least 2/10 in virtuosity and originality. And again, we're looking at the dismount, the tuck double back, and you saw him let go of his knees just a little early, took the low landing, had to touch his hands.
On the pommel horse now, Mike Bush from Glenbrook North.
And something you can notice here is the beautiful extension. He's got legs tightly together, feet pointed, and his hips are pushed out. There's something the judges are looking for. Working very nicely. There's a Stockley out. A Russian walker on right to the dismount. Great set. We saw him work on one pommel. We saw him use all parts of the horse. And again, you saw how nicely extended he was, and he had some height off the horse. That should score very well.
Bush score in the preliminaries an 8.80. He may have bettered that here.
And again, look how nicely he's extended out. Walk around right to a loop off. Nice set, and really didn't see any form deductions.
9.25.
They just announced Wasik's floor exercise score a 9.25, so he certainly dropped off his 9.7 qualifying score. Now we go to Roe Knight from Homewood as he takes to the floor with his exercise.
And he also mounts with a nice tuck double back, beautiful height, and you saw when he landed, he immediately turned and did a prone fall. Not necessarily deduction, but it could be. That's one of those judgment calls. That's why we have judges out there. And that skill he did with a straddled plunge fulfills his strength move. There's a immediate dive roll. Nice second pass.
How much does originality count for the judges?
2/10. So the athlete actually starts, if he has all his requirements, he can score a 9.4. To get a 10.0, he gets 2/10 in originality and 4/10 in virtuosity. And now the dismount. Nice full twisting back, sticks the landing. Great set. He had all the parts. He had a nice, difficult mount, beautiful second pass, and a full twist there that he sticks at the end. And here's a look at his dismount. There's the round off back handspring or flip flop. There's the back with a full twist, sees the floor, gets ready for landing, and nails it. Nice set. And again, in finals, those stuck landings are crucial to get the extra 10th.
Next up on the horse from Addison Trail.
Now from Addison Trail, your old school, Rob, Ryan Headley.
And we're going to look for Ryan to do a very difficult mount. He's going to start on one end, jump into flared circles, and now he's going to travel across the horse without the pommel. Magyar travel, very difficult, nicely done. And right there, you saw him run into a little trouble, the legs break. He's into his scissors. Again, a little loose with the form. You can see the knees bend in every circle. And a nice front out loop off. Nice set, a lot of difficulty, but again, he had trouble with the form. And every circle with a form break is a 10th off, so they add up.
Appreciative crowd on hand here, as you can no doubt tell.
And let's look at the dismount again. Picks up back into double leg circles. Again, you can see the knees flinch. He hit his leg right there on the horse, another leg bend. Got through the set, but again, those form deductions add up very quickly and really knock your score down.
Score for Roe Knight on the floor exercise.
So Ryan Headley done with his pommel horse as we go back to the floor competition.
Wheeling High School, Mike Gendrea.
Mike Gendreas back now to the floor. And again, these athletes, many of them who are entered in multiple events, are shuttling back and forth between the apparatus.
It's a busy night. We saw a front step out through to full twisting back. Nicely done, nice height. And here's something unique. He's doing a pommel horse skill on the floor. Those were double leg circles. And that was a press to handstand. He needed that for his strength move. And you saw he didn't hold it, so he's short a strength part right now. Beautiful side flip. And again, another unique skill. He did a toe touch to prone fall. And there's the side scale, fulfilling the balance on one leg. And another round of full flop, full twisting back, punch front. Nice set. But again, earlier I mentioned he needed that press to handstand. He needed to hold the handstand. It was a little short, so he did not get that part.
Rob, many of these moves we're seeing in the men's floor exercises now are really reminiscent of what you used to see only on a trampoline. Not this particular one, of course, because I mentioned that, but so many of the flips are of the acrobatic nature that you really didn't see them until you had the spring floor.
That's right. As the sport evolved, you got spring floors, and it allowed you to do some very high-level skills.
Back to the pommel horse now. Mike Mirabelli from Libertyville.
And Mike moving nicely. Had a little trouble on his mounts. He's back into flare circles. Now regular circle, and there's a back travel without the pommel. And a nice back loop off. Nice set. Clean. Fulfilled his requirements and got off. And here are those flare circles again. Nice extension. He's got the leg up nice and high. And there's that back travel without the pommels. Right to the dismount. Nice job.
Now back to the floor exercise. Tied for the #2 spot in qualifying, the sophomore from Whitney Young, Darian Knight. The score on the floor to beat right now is the 9-3 by Matt Goldstein earlier.
And there was a beautiful double full, run off flip double full. Nice height, nice landing. And here again are those skills from the pommel horse performed on floor. Nice flare circles, and he's spindling. As he did those flares, he was turning his body the other way. And from the splits, nice press to handstand. He's got to hold it for 2 seconds, which he did. And he'll get ready for a second pass. And that's a unique skill. He goes right from his hands, doesn't touch his feet, and rolls.
This is his first state meet, and he's impressive.
Absolutely. Very powerful, not afraid to show off his strength. And there was a nice handspring through pike front. And again, the balance on one leg. And now his dismount. Front step out. Lay out back, punch fronts. And he's working the landing and got it. And as I mentioned, those stuck landings, very crucial in finals. You got to get that extra 10th.
Well, a very acrobatic performance by Darian Knight.
And let's take a look at those skills that usually you see on the pommel horse. He breaks in a double leg circle, and here are those flare circles. Now watch. He's going to gradually turn his body as he moves through each flare circle. Now when he finishes, he's facing the other way. Very difficult. Great floor set.
Ryan Trent from Naperville North.
And those were loops. Now he's doing flared loops. And here's a handstand. Kind of a new genre in men's gymnastics that came about in the late 70s. And he works out of the handstand, which is unique. And that was a back more down. And we'll probably see another handstand here. Pops it up there. And a pirouette. Nice job. Some very unique things we saw there. Unique in that he didn't dismount on the first handstand. He stayed on the horse, finished the second half, and then he did another handstand and added a pirouette at the end.
We talked earlier about him missing a month of action due to academic ineligibility. How much can a month layoff like that affect an athlete?
It depends. Ryan seems to be very strong, and that'll allow him to come back. Strength is crucial. We're taking a look at that dismount. He pops up the handstand. There's that pirouette. Very original. He should get some tenths back for that.
The ovation was for Darian Knight's score on the floor exercise, a 9.45. So he takes over first place as we go back to the floor now with Homewood Flossmoor's Joe Paulson.
And Joe just did a beautiful tuck double back. Didn't see the floor and kind of over-rotated and had to roll out of it right away. And again, that's going to be a small deduction. These judges have been around long enough where it's kind of tough to fool them. He's recovered, getting ready for a second pass. Nice front punch dive roll, straddle jump punch front. The second pass, the athlete typically will use it to kind of show off a little bit, show a little style. And here's a different scale. This is called a Y scale. And again, requires a little more flexibility than doing some of the other scales that we've seen. And now his dismount. Round off flip-flop, double full, small step. Nice routine. Again, he had troubles on his landing on his mount, and you saw a little step on his dismount. So those landings are something that's going to hurt Joe.
Joe Polson from Homewood Flossmoor.
And let's take a look at the dismount again. Nice round off, back handspring, lifts into the back flip. He wraps 2 twists. Now you can see his legs crossed. That'll be a deduction. And again, you saw the step on the landing. Again, another 10th.
So the majority of the deductions for Paulson coming right at the end of his routine as we go back to the pommel horse as we continue here on the 1993 IHSA Boys State Gymnastics meet. And this is Chirag Shah from Hinsdale Central. And Chirag Shah had some great scores. In fact, he had the top qualifying score for the pommel horse of a 9.50. Now we're getting a conference by the judges again over on the far side.
And as I mentioned, what typically happens is the judges are out of range. In other words, their scores have to be within, say, 2/10. And
I think we developed a problem with Ryan Trent. Trent, in essence, finds himself going in back-to-back slots in the competition. That could be our problem.
No, it's 9-3. We'll go 9-3-5. You bring that up to a 9-3, it's 9-3-5. He wins.
You guys feel that's right?
Yes. I feel strongly. And they may not. I do. I want my score left.
Okay, Bob, will you bring yours up?
I don't like
And we're listening in on the judges. This is what they do. They confer. They go down their sheets and say, hey, we're looking at the same skills. Their differences are going to be on execution deductions.
I've got a good case.
While we wait for the score to be posted, that's what the conversation was about. The conversation was about the score for Ryan Trent in the pommel horse. 9.35 for Ryan Trent, and you heard the argument there with one of the judges insisting that his score be left in, and that in fact puts Ryan Trent in first place now in the pommel horse ahead of Darian Knight's 9.3. So that was a very critical discussion from the standpoint of Ryan Trent as we go back to Chirag Shah, and this is an important routine for him now.
And he's got the typical pommel. Ooh, and he's off the horse.
30 seconds.
He's got 30 seconds to remount the apparatus. He's going to go to the chalk tray.
Will there be a deduction?
Yes, there's a 5/10 deduction whenever you fall off the apparatus. He confers with his coaches. Hey, they tell him this is where you got to start. Get back out there, regroup, finish your routine. So that's the biggest deduction in gymnastics when you fall off the apparatus.
He would need to be perfect now just to equal his qualifying score of 9.5, which was the best in the competition.
And it's a shame because he's got a beautiful long body for pommel horse. He really shows it off. Look at the extension. Nice travel without the pommel. Beautiful back loop, swinging nicely. Nice walk around loop off dismount. Unfortunately, he fell off. Again, he looks really good on the pommel horse, but that 5/10 deduction is going to really knock him down.
So much work and dedication goes into the one routine you get to the state championship level, and this happens.
Hey, at this point, it's a battle of nerves. It's the athletes with the best composure.
All right, here's Ryan Trent now on the floor exercise from Naperville North. Just came off that great score on the pommel horse, and that has to give him a lift as he heads into this event.
And that was kind of a unique mount. Usually the athlete will run right into his first pass. He started with a standing back punch front. And here's some more of those pommel horse skills on the horse. He opts to do double leg circles in a spin. So right away, kind of an original thing. And here's a straddle press to handstand. That's his strength part. He's required to hold it for 2 seconds, which he did. And now we should see some tumbling. Nice high front step out through the hamstring pike front. Stretch dive roll. Beautiful front pass. And there's the front scale fulfilling that one leg balance requirement. And another unique skill. He swung his leg, had trouble on the landing. Very unique. He swung his leg through on that scale right to a backflip and another punch front. There's a whip back through the tuck back and sticks the landing. So really kind of a unique routine in the way he put all the skills together.
Ryan Trent from Naperville North having a strong meet. Has the leading score on the pommel horse, and this should be a good score here too.
And again, we're looking at that first tumbling pass. He did a beautiful front step out. There's the handspring pike front, and he punches immediately into a dive roll. And the judges are looking for tumbling passes that have a lot of difficult skills packed one after another.
8.9.
Well, Chirag Cha got an 8.9 on the pommel horse after his difficulties there. As we look at Chris Anderson, Chris from Schaumburg. It's a warm round of applause here at the Arlington Heights facility. Forest View High School is the location of the 1993 IHSA championships.
And Chris is moving quite well at this point. Hasn't had any major breaks, some small form deductions. That skill he just performed is called a scissor hop half turn, where he moved from the middle to the end. He's back into double leg circles, getting ready for his dismount. And he hit his legs on the pommel horse, and as you can imagine, that can slow you down substantially, and he had to take a stop. That's a 3/10 deduction. And works through a nice walk around, loop off dismount. So again, moving nicely until his dismount, where he hit the pommel and stopped him.
Such a high technical level is necessary for this event. It really puts a lot of mental strain on the performer.
And you just saw again that fall. You could see his leg actually jolt when it hit the pommel, and it almost stops him instantly.
Adam Kahn now from Libertyville.
And he moved through a nice alternate pass. On a flip-flop back, flip-flop layout back. There's that press to handstand. Had a little trouble, but it looked like he recovered. And again, as a judge, you might say, did he hold it or didn't he hold it? And there's that front scale. And a beautiful handspring layout front. Nicely done. And now he should be ready for his last pass. Run a flip-flop, layout back. And sticks the landing. Not packed with difficulty, but very clean. Stuck his landings. Should score well.
Adam Kahn from Libertyville, as we get another look at a portion of his exercise.
8.4. Next up, pommel horse from Schaumburg.
And again, we saw that second pass, that beautiful stretched handspring front.
This is Monty Murray from Schaumburg. This will be the final competitor on the pommel horse. The score to beat right now is the 9.35 put up by Ryan Trent from Naperville North.
And he just moved through a very difficult mount called a Magyar travel, where he moves from one end to the other, swinging nicely, did a beautiful back travel uphill, moving through his scissors, back into double leg circles. There's another back travel to the end, and a nice walk on the block. Great routine. Difficult mount, no major form breaks. Nice dismount.
Does he have a shot?
I think he definitely has a shot. We'll have to see what the judges do with this set. That was probably his biggest break. You saw him hit his legs on the pommel, had a small break. There's that back travel. Now we're going to see him set up for this walk around. Here it is. He 4 hand placements on the end, right to the loop off. Nice set.
He had a 9.15. As we look at our final competitor on the floor exercise, Luby Luna from Glenbard East.
And he mounted with a double full. And again, you saw the low landing. Had to touch out his hands. Going to be a big deduction. Bounding fronts. Again, the low landing, and that's something the judges are going to take a 10th off on. And that skill was called a Healy turn. There's the VL. You can imagine the strength it takes in your stomach to do that. And the Y scale, fulfilling that one leg balance. And again, round off, flip flop, full twist, nice landing. So nice recovery from the trouble he had on his mounts. Nice routine.
So that's it for the floor exercise. And we move along to try and await the final score, and it looks like we're going to have another meeting of the judges.
Let's take a look at Luby's last pass. Round off, full twisting back, spots the floor, gets ready for landing, and nails it. And again, in gymnastics, we refer to that as a stuck landing.
Well, according to our early calculations, Darian Knight has the best floor exercise score. We will wait as there is another score or two to come. Monty Murray still waiting for his score. And of course, the team score competitions also to be affected here as we look for athletes to improve on their qualifying scores. Any difference that they improve upon will be added to the team scores. And as we talked about earlier in our telecast, there is truly a battle for second between Naperville North and Libertyville, who came in .08 apart, with Naperville North in second behind the runaway leader Mundelein, and Libertyville sitting in the number 3 slot.
And that's why that score for Ryan Trent on pommel horse was so crucial. And looking at the scores here, it looks like Ryan Trent improved his score from last night by .45.
2/10 back for 3/10. You're being very unfair. For a high school. You get 3/10 back? Okay. So you're going to go 9-3. Sure. No problem.
Well, you can tell that there is certainly a lot of open discussion among the judges about what is or isn't fair.
Hey, after you go through all the, making sure that you all have the same parts and all the same requirements, it really becomes kind of a political thing and a viewpoint thing. And sometimes the judges with the strongest viewpoint get their way and they make the final call.
We still have not received a score for Monty Murray on the pommel horse, and I suspect that is the score that they were discussing. And we will await that, and we'll have the final tabulations when we return. But right now, we pause for a break. You're watching the 1993 Illinois State High School Gymnastics Championships. We're back at the Forest View Educational Center in Arlington Heights, Illinois, site of the 1993 IHSA Boys State Gymnastics meet. We've just had the floor and pommel horse exercises to get the evening underway. Time to look at the winning floor routine, and a great performance put on by this young man from Whitney Young, Darian Knight.
Absolutely. We're going to take a look here. He's very powerful, tumbles very high. Look at the height on this double full. Beautifully done. Has all day to look for the landing. Nails it. And now he's going to take something from the pommel horse. Watch here. He's going to break into double leg circles and then into flared circles. And he spindles. Watch as he turns his body. Very difficult. So again, he's got virtuous tumbling. He's got original skills. That's what puts you on top.
Darian Knight with the winning floor exercise with a 9.45. Matt Goldstein from Conant right behind him, and John Wasik, a little bit of a letdown for him based on the way he blew away the field in qualifying in this event with a 9.7, the same score he had in the sectional. So that's a fall off for him. He was the favorite in this event, and it'll be disappointing for him that he finished as low as he did.
That's right, but I get the feeling John tried some new skills tonight. They were a little rough, and again, he had trouble on his dismount. Touched his hand. It was a major deduction.
And there's Darian Knight going to the podium as Darian receives his medal for winning the floor exercise in 1993. Last year's champion in this event was Sean Grosvenor from Lane Tech, who's now at UIC, and the all-time record in this event held by Neil Gallant from York, set back in 1986, a 9.80. But certainly a score to be proud of for Darian Knight, a 9.45. And he's an athlete, Rob, that we expect to see a lot of next year, as he has talked about really working on his routines and kind of going for the level that John Wasik has set.
And that's right. As a sophomore, he's got a lot of time to improve his difficulty, polish up his sets. Expect to see some big scores from him in the next couple years.
All right, the other event that we saw in the opening portion of our telecast here was the pommel horse, the most technical, I think, of all the events. And we got a winner in Ryan Trent, who kind of came out of the pack a little bit. He was 5th in qualifying and really surprised a lot of people, I think, with his performance here today.
And again, as you mentioned, horse, the most difficult event in men's gymnastics. And again, something Ryan did was some unique skill. He swings to a handstand here, and instead of dismounting, works back into scissors. Something no one else did tonight. Originality, that's what you're looking for. Picks up into double leg circles. Again, nice form, nice extension. Works behind his back, works without the pommels. All things the judges are looking for. And again, another handstand at the end. Pops it up there. More originality. Watch this. He pirouettes before he dismounts. Great job. And again, to be above the crowd, you have to be virtuous and you have to be original. And Ryan Trent was both of those.
A look at the scores, a 9.35, and what a jump he made from his 8.90 qualifying score. And the favorite going into the event, Chirag Shah, who had a 9.50 in qualifying, as you saw earlier, fell off the apparatus and did not finish in the top 5, as John Wasik from Mundelein, not too far down the list, as he always seems to be, at a 9.20. And you see Mike Gendreas from Wheeling and Mike Bush from Glenbrook North finishing in a tie for 5th at 9.15. And the awards ceremony going on now for the pommel horse. And Darian Knight comes over to congratulate the rest of the group. Actually, this must be for the floor exercise.
It might be.
Oh, no, you're right. That is
I think he's just getting ready. He's in his vaulting.
They're sharing the step on the podium there. It was the tie for second that resulted in Darian coming back onto the podium. And now we get the winner. And it's Ryan Trenton. He's a popular fellow here from Naperville North as he comes to the podium. And I have a feeling the way he's going in the first 2 events tonight, he had a very impressive floor exercise as well, that we may see him up there again.
Absolutely. It looks like he came to win some events. He came to do his business. And as we mentioned, making a nice recovery this year after having some academic problems. So tonight's his night to shine.
All right, so there you have the winners in the pommel horse competition, and we have much more to come here on the 1993 IHSA State Gymnastics Championships. Coming up, the still rings and the vault competition as we continue on Sports Channel. Welcome back as we continue to the still rings, and our first competitor in this event, Andy Bade from Mundelein.
And Andy mounts with a strength move. It's called a front lever, and moves directly to a back lever. So Andy knocks off his 2 strength moves right off the bat. And there's a back uprise to straddle L. And he brings his legs to a regular L. And now we'll probably see him press the handstand. And he opts to do a hollow back press. And a press to handstand is required skill on the rings. Nice front giant to handstand. There's another front bail, front giant to handstand, nicely done. Now he's bailing. Tuck double back dismount, nice routine.
Bade with an 8.85 in qualifying to tie for the 5th slot. Let's quickly look at the requirements for the still rings competition here in the 1993 championships.
The athlete's required to do 2 strength parts, and those are static skills where the gymnast doesn't move. Then he has to do 1 handstand with strength and 1 handstand from swing.
Now to the vault. Travis Peterson from Naperville North.
And Travis does a nice pike Sukahara and nails the landing. And again, there's not much to vault, so that landing is crucial, and he nails it.
He had a 9.05 in qualifying. Let's look at the requirements for the vault.
And again, as I mentioned, vault is kind of a basic event. It's basically a run, a jump, and a landing. So really all the athlete gets is 1 vault. That's the requirement. Some other basic things that might happen is he's not allowed to touch his feet on the horse, and he has to touch his hands. So really nothing that complicated.
Back to the still rings now for our second competitor. And this is Mike Rauschenberger, also part of the Mundelein team. They all have those crew cut flat top haircuts. Those are all in honor of their coach, Doug Farrick, who wears the same type of hairstyle. And there is Farrick, the coach of this oh so successful Mundelein team. He's got a great program as he assists Rauschenberger onto the ring.
And Mike is a very powerful gymnast, and he mounts with a front lever and a kip to L cross. Whoa, and he presses to a Maltese. That's an international level strength move. And back to another cross. This kid is strong. So he's required to do 2 strength parts. He's already done 4. There's a dislocate, bent arm shoot to handstand, and a back bail to a back uprise L. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see how he's a little tight during his swinging maneuvers. And that's usually what happens sometimes when an athlete's very strong. They're a little tight in the shoulders. And a nice dismount, back with a half twist. Very powerful in the strength category, but kind of weak in the swinging category. And you've got to have both on rings to score well.
Mike Rauschenberger with a powerful exercise.
Let's take a look at those strength parts. There's the kip to L cross. Now watch this. He pulls out to a Maltese plunge, level with the ground, incredible strength. And yet another strength move, the cross.
Back to the vault. This is Chris Weddick from Libertyville.
And Chris does a tuck Kazamatsu, and that's basically a half on with a backflip, but he puts a full twist on it. Nicely done, nice landing.
Weddick had a 9.20 in qualifying and found himself in a pretty good spot on the vault.
And there's the half on. Now he's flipping backwards, and you can see him twisting, spots the floor. Nice landing with the step. That'll be a 10th off. Otherwise, very difficult vault. Nicely done.
He was tied for 4th as we go back to the rings. This is Kevin Izumi again from Elk Grove Village as he warms himself up and has to wait for that score for the previous competitor on that apparatus to be announced before he can begin, and that would then be the score of Mike Rauschenberger from Mundelein. And we'll see how they scored him, as you mentioned, Rob, on the swinging portion of his still rings performance. And he picked up a 9.10. So Rauschenberger with the 9.10, and that is an improvement for him, a slight one from the 8.95 in qualifying. Now here's Izumi as he gets set to mount the rings.
And Kevin should show us a more balanced routine with that strength and swing. And he mounts with a back uprise cross. There's one of the strength moves, and he moves to an L cross. He's got his two strength moves out of the way. Now we should look for those swinging parts. Nice back uprise, press to handstand. Front bail. And that skill is called a Yamawaki. It's basically it's a double front where you don't let go of the rings, though. Can be brutal on the shoulders.
Could also be construed by the untrained eye to be a mistake.
Actually not. And a nice dismount, a full twisting double back. So we saw the strength and the difficult swing parts. That's a balanced routine. He might have had a little trouble with the form, virtuosity, but still, a balanced set should score well. Let's take a look at those strength parts. Watch this, back uprise right to the cross, very difficult. Holds it, lifts his legs to an L cross, holds it again.
Here's the vault now of Jay Loeffler as he runs to the apparatus.
And he also tried the Kazamatsu. Had a little trouble with rotation, had to take the low landing, and that's going to be a big deduction. Didn't really even get his feet down. That's going to be like a 5/10 break. And again, that Kazamatsu is a half-on back flip with a full twist.
Loeffler had a 9.10 in qualifying. He's from Barrington, and his score will certainly have suffered after that as we go back to the rings. And you look at the good crowd on hand here for this 1993 IHSA State Championships. We hope you're enjoying our coverage on Sports Channel. As we go back to the rings, and Ray Sidwell from Rolling Meadows gets all chalked up. I guess that's a rosin similar to what a baseball pitcher would use.
Yeah, actually it's chalk.
Oh, it is chalk.
And it's used in gymnastics because your hands will sweat and the chalk absorbs the moisture so the athlete doesn't slip off the apparatus.
Sidwell, the second highest qualifier at 9.00 behind John Wasik.
And he mounted with a nice back uprise handstand. There's a front giant up through the handstand. Had a little trouble with the handstand. And this is called an inverted cross. Very difficult, nicely done, nice and horizontal. Ooh, and he tried a back uprise inverted cross. Nicely done. One deduction though, is you can see the bend in his elbows. Although he's holding the skills, the elbows are bent, that's gonna be a deduction. There's an L, now he's pressing to the handstand. That's his strength part to handstand requirement. Again, you can see him, he never really locks out those handstand positions. Nails the dismount, nice tuck double back. Again, had the swing, had the strength, but from a technical standpoint, had the bend in the arms, never really showed off the strong handstand. Let's take a look at those inverted crosses. tremendous amount of strength and balance because he is in a handstand position. And there was the back uprise. And again, look at the bend in his elbows. Although it's difficult, he's going to take a deduction on the bent arms.
Roe Knight again now from Homewood Flossmoor.
And he does a Sukahara in the stretch position. Nicely done, great distance, but again, small form deductions in flight and on the landing.
Appears to be injured as well as he limps his way back up the runway. He's keeping up a smile for the audience here, but
and look, as he leaves the horse, he's throwing his head back into that stretched position, and right there is the low landing. That's probably why he's limping a little bit. And you can imagine dropping from 8-10 feet up and taking a little landing, the ankles can scream a little bit.
the knee appeared to buckle just a little bit as Roe Knight is essentially trying to walk off the pain. And we have the judges taking their time just a little bit for the prior still ring performance by Ray Sidwell. And he gets an 8.95 as we move along to Jason Orna from Lake Park High School in Roselle. Orna on the rings in qualifying in the 10 slot at 8.6, and the top 10 positions in qualifying earlier in this meet made it to this level that we're at tonight, the finals in the individual events.
And he starts from an inverted hang. Does a nice kip, swing, handstand. And there's a back bail to shoot handstand. Oh, has a little trouble in handstand. You can see him break down, bend the arms. That's going to be deduction. And you can also see the ring swinging as he moves into a cross. And when the rings are swinging, that is a deduction.
Once they start to swing, it would seem virtually impossible to stop that momentum.
There is a technique. You have to bail at the right times and kind of counter and offset that swing. And let's see if he can do that. And again, you can see he's starting to have trouble because of that swing. And at that point, he opted to come down. His coach stops him. And he'll continue from there. And there's a hollow back press to handstand. And he's going to get ready for his dismount. There's a bail. Nice tuck double back, step on the landing. And again, the swinging that he picked up during that routine really caused him troubles.
So Jason Orna will talk things over with his coaches. We get a look at that trouble he had, and it really came apart for him early, and then he had to stop.
And again, you can see him in a cross position, but those rings are swinging so far out of control, it was hard to continue at that point.
Now back to Darian Knight from Whitney Young.
And he also does a nice layout soup. Nails the landing. Nice vault.
Knight won the floor exercise.
And again, watch, there's the half on. He blocks off the horse, hits the stretched body position, and nails the landing. Great vault. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that landing on vault is crucial because there's not much else to do during the vault.
Score for Jason Orna on the still rings.
And now back to the rings. This is Josh Resnick from Niles West in Skokie.
From Niles West High School, Josh Resnick.
And up to this point on rings, we haven't seen an athlete really put together a solid routine with both strength and swing. Let's see if Josh can do that. Nice cast back upright handstand. And there's that inverted cross again. A little high, but nicely done. Another bail back upright handstand. Back upright to cross. Beautiful. Look at his shoulders are perfectly level. Arms are straight. And now he back hips to an L. Nice hollow back press to handstand. And now he's going to get ready for his dismount. Dislocates. Tuck double back. Ooh, little trouble. You saw the hands touch, and you saw the disappointment on his face. That's going to cost him 3/10.
Virtually flawless performance up to that point for Josh Resnick.
And again, here's that dismount. Dislocate. Tuck double back. Look how tight he's got to pull those knees in to make the dismount. Low, short on the low rotation, and there's the touch.
Now here's John Wasik from Mundelein and his vault.
Beautiful stretched Sukahara, the same vault we just saw Darian Knight do. And actually, I felt that was a little better. He had a little more height, a little more extension during the backflip. Let's take a look at it. Now watch right here, off the horse. He gets a little higher, and he can stay stretched out a little longer. A little bend in the knees, and the hop on the landing. So, kind of combination of things. Darian had the stuck landing, but Wasik had the virtuosity and height.
He likely did not duplicate his 9.6 in qualifying, and we will wait as Brian Lupo from Glenbard North gets set to assume his position on the still rings. Josh Resnick, who we saw in the rings a moment ago and had that difficulty with the dismount, checked in with a 9.0, which puts him in the second slot now behind the leader right now in the rings, Mike Rauschenberger, with a 9.10.
And there's where double dislocates to shoot handstand, and right away he's having troubles locking in that handstand. He's got the ring swinging, and this is a unique thing. You can see he's got the cables twisted, and he untwists them in a cross position. That's very original. Whoa, and that was a beautiful drop hop cross. Tremendous amount of strength to do that. And here's his move to handstand. So he's recovered quite nicely. Drops down into a dislocate, full twist, sticks the landing. Nice routine. Again, a little weak on the swinging aspect, but we saw some very original strength moves. And there's the crossing of the cables again, we saw. And now he's going to let them uncross in the cross, doing a cross. Boom, drops right back to cross. Incredible strength.
You've probably ascertained by now that the scores are coming a competitor later than the performance, so you often hear cheers at what may seem to be inappropriate times. It's when the scores are posted, and John Wasik jumped into the lead in the vault with a 9.60 as Luke Starr from Libertyville now sets.
And he opts to do a Sukahara in the pike position. Nicely done. Again, nice height, nice landing. Did take a step, but other than the step on the landing, no deductions.
And he comes off the mat and will have to sit down and rest, evidently injuring himself. Let's see if we can pick it up.
And again, there's the half on. He blocks off the horse. He's in the pike position right there. Looked like a nice landing. Actually looked like his right knee might have buckled a little bit on that landing. And again, traveling as fast as you are and from the height you are, it's easy to blow out an ankle or a knee. Otherwise, a nice vault.
And now John Wasik, who we just saw with his vault, gets set for his still rings. And Wasik had the best score in qualifying, a 9.30, part of his record-setting all-around score in the earlier portion of this competition that set the all-time Illinois state record for the all-around competition. And we'll see Wasik now on what we are seeing here is clearly one of the most difficult events.
Yeah, up to this point, I think it's wide open on rings. We haven't seen a very strong performance up to now. And John moves through a back hip to an L cross. A little high, but still nicely done. Back up rise. And there's an L and a V position. You can see he had his heels over his head. And he's going to move into a hollow back press, fulfilling that strength move to handstand. And now for swing. There's a back Johnny to handstand. Shows the handstand nicely. Another bail through high dislocate, cross straps, and a double back. Again, very unique. He actually dismounted with the cables crossed. Very unique to high school gymnastics, and really hasn't been seen in international gymnastics but for 2 years. So let's take a look here at that dismount. Bails through the handstand. Now watch here, he's gonna bail, high dislocate. Now watch right here. Crosses the straps, does a dislocate with the ropes crossed, and a dismount with the cables crossed. Tuck double back, nails the landing.
This is Nate Knight from Homewood Rossmore.
And Nate performs a Sukahara in the stretch position, nicely done. And something Nate did is, I thought he showed the most extension the whole time I vault. Let's take a look. Watch him during flight here. He stays stretched longer than most of the other athletes. And again, fighting for the landing, has to take a couple steps, a little low, and that'll cost him a couple tenths.
And now everyone in the room essentially waiting for the ring score of John Wasik. 9-4, and that puts him in the lead. So rather predictably, with a wide open field, Wasik is now the new leader in the still rings. As we continue with that event, this is Ray Gradecki from Mundelein. Ray won the rings at the independent conference meet 3 weeks ago with an 8.60, and along with Wasik and Andy Bade, really makes up the 1-2-3 punch of this outstanding Mundelein team.
And Ray mounted with a nice back lever, and he did a back up rise to a straddle L. And there's that L in a V position, which is considered a strength part. And there's his press to handstand. So now he's got all his strength parts out of the way. He needs to fulfill those swinging skills. There's a nice back joint to handstand. And a nice pike double back. Nails the landing. Great job. I don't know if it had enough originality and virtuosity to push his teammate John Wasik for the top score, but that should score well.
Gradecki endured open heart surgery at the age of 8 years old. Talk about coming back from adversity.
And again, he's moving through that back lever. You see a couple inlocates to the straddle L.
Kevin Izumi on the vault.
Now that was a great vault. That was a Sukahara in the pike position. Beautiful height and distance, two things that the judges are looking for involved.
Terry, a night score in this event, the 9.45, still the score to beat, as you see Izumi from Elk Grove Village. Right now, Knight leading in the vault, and the still rings has been, as you saw, taken over by John Wasik with a 9.4, which even betters his qualifying score of 9.3. As we go back to the rings now, winding down this portion of the competition is Martin Asuan. He's from Glenbrook South in Glenview.
Score for Ray Gradecki on the ring.
We get Gradecki's score first, and a 9.35. So that vaults him, no pun intended, into second, just 0.5 of a point behind Wasik. And this Mundelein team is coming through big time again, and it's no surprise it's been that way all year for them in high school gymnastics. So now Asuan, and he will be our final performer on the still rings.
And it looks like we're going to have another conference here on rings. I'm not sure about what. Because usually after they post a score, that's it.
Guys got to think here a minute. Make sure we get some people on the right order here. We got two guys at 9.4. I had him at a 9.2. The thing we got to decide here is this the second best routine. We got him at second best. The kid from Glenbard North was a pretty nice routine too. We want to get him placed in the right order.
Well, I had a 9.4 before I changed.
I gave him back 2.
I had a little difficulty with his strength parts, gentlemen. He threw a A lever and he threw a low, high L.
No, that was a B.
From where I was sitting, it looked low.
Close. They weren't the greatest strength parts in the world, but
Is his strength move compared to those strength
it
moves
wasn't as good as the strength move as the other guys.
I accept that. Does his bail pipe double compared to the dismounts?
Look at his swing.
Make a decision.
Make a decision.
I don't want to change.
Anybody want to change?
I'll change to 9.4.
I thought it was best routine of the night.
Think it wants to go up? You want to tie him?
I think he was weak on his strength. I can't see it.
Tell him what to do.
Let's go down one on it. All right. Can you live? Anybody live with going down one on one of the 9.4s here?
They're discussing Ray Gradecki from Mundelein, and the score on his that was already posted.
Okay, then we'll go with it.
And Randy, as I mentioned earlier, there's two aspects to rings. There's strength parts and there's swing parts. You heard that mentioned several times between the judges. Well, I felt this guy swing better. I felt this guy was stronger.
It looks like they're going to keep the posted score. There was some disagreement, but the 9.35 will remain for Ray Gradecki. And this is then Martin Asuan, who's had a chance to really think about things here. He's in the 10 slot and has a chance to perhaps jump into the top 3 or 4 here in what has been a fairly wide open field in the rings until Wasik and then Gradecki.
Now let's see if Martin can put together a routine. Moss with a nice back up rise to handstand.
He had an 8.70 in qualifying.
There's another front giant to handstand. Nicely done. No break so far. Back uprise to cross. Nice and level. There's an L cross. Held, maybe a little high. And now look for his strength to handstand. Ooh, had a little trouble. You saw the hesitation there as he moved up. That skill should move fluidly right to the handstand. And now the dismount. Bail, tuck double back, and again, the low landing, the hand touch. That's a big enough deduction, 3/10 to knock you out of it.
So Asuan with a little bit of difficulty there, and that wraps up the still rings competition as we will go to the final vault of these 93 championships. Curtis Boyd from Rich South. Our first look at Curtis.
Ooh, and had a little trouble, actually a lot of trouble on the landing. You saw him low and to the side, touch the hand. It's going to be 5/10. And we'll catch the problem right here. Watch off the horse. He never seems to get enough power right here, enough height, enough rotation. It's just not moving enough. He's going to take a low landing right here. Boom. You see him go down on the elbow, on the knee. Big deduction.
All right, well, it is time for us to take a break here. Still plenty of action to come, including the parallel bars and the high bar. It's the 1993 IHSA State Boys Gymnastics meet, and we'll be back on Sports Channel. Back in Arlington Heights and the 93 State Boys Gymnastics Championships, we have our winners in the still rings and vault competitions. And first we'll look at the winning performance on the still rings put in by, who else? John Wasik from Mundelein.
And it was really these unique original skills here at the end of his routine that put him on top. He performed skills with the cables crossed. Very original. And of course the nice dismount and the stuck landing.
And Wasik, who qualified with a 9.3, improved on that with a 9.40 to win the rings competition. Gradecki from Mundelein, a 9.35, and Rauschenberger, also from Mundelein, a 9.10. So it's a 1-2-3 sweep in the rings. Resnick from Niles West in fourth. Then the three-way tie for fifth is Izumi, Bade, and Sidwell, all at 8.95. And to the podium now, we get the introduction for the first time in the winning spot, at least in this competition. We saw him earlier receive his all-around medal. And that is Mundelein's John Wasik in what really was a wide-open field for him, Rob, when he got to the apparatus fairly late in the routine.
It really was. Up to that point, the routines were kind of weak. No one had really struck a balance between nice strength moves and a nice swing. They ran into trouble on either their strength or their swing, and it was wide open, and John just moved right in there and hit a nice routine.
And as we look at the crowd and get ready to talk a little bit about the vault, we should bring up the point that John Wasik stated coming into tonight's action that the all-around was done for him and his team had won the team competition, and he was going to take some risks in this competition tonight, and sometimes when you take risks, you don't always stick them.
That's right. For an all-arounder, that's the key prize. You want to win the all-around. The finals is a time to maybe have some fun, lighten up, try some new skills, which I think he tried on floor, and it didn't quite pay off. But I think it paid off on the rings.
It certainly did, as he picks up the winner's share in the rings competition. And guess what? It's a 1-2 sweep in this segment for John Wasik, because he also comes up with the top vault in 1993, and here it is.
And watch, nice height off the horse, blocks up, moves through a stretch position, and of course the nice high landing, only a small deduction. And again, the judges like the height and the virtuosity on that stretch Sukara.
And there's the final results as he duplicates his qualifying score with a 9.60. Darian Knight in second with a 9.45, and he's really the name to watch in the future of IHSA State Gymnastics, as perhaps assuming the top throne. Always like to throw in that the 92 champ in this event was Brian Yancey of Homewood Flossmoor with a 9.25. And Rob, your record is safe. My colleague from Addison Trail back in 1982 with a 9.80, and that is the only 9.8 in IHSA finals history in any event, so your record's safe for a little while again.
I'm wiping the sweat from my brow as we speak now.
We failed to mention in the still rings, Tony Zork won this last year from Hinsdale Central, a 9.55, so that is safe, and so is the all-time record in rings. Wade Paulus from Glenbard East back in 87 with a 9.65 as we get another look at John Wasik, who has committed to go to Illinois next year, and what kind of gymnastics program can he expect at the university level there, Rob?
Illinois has got a very strong program, and in fact all the Big Ten schools do, and his coaches are actually going to hopefully push him into the national team program where John will have to perform compulsories in college to try to make national teams to compete internationally. So look for John in the future. Maybe we'll see him competing nationally and internationally in a couple years.
Well, he has certainly already in this senior year in high school been working on collegiate and international level type of moves in the world of gymnastics, and it has certainly paid off in a bounty for him of medals and sectional championship, regionals, and now here in the state as well, as he is the 1993 vault champion. We are going to take a little break here at the 93 state finals. Come back with a special look at gymnastics and a very special program in the Chicago Park District. That's when we continue here on Sports Channel. I want to remind you that the broadcast rights for the Illinois High School Boys Gymnastics Championships have been granted to Sports Channel by the Illinois High School Association. Any reproduction or rebroadcast of this event without the expressed written consent of Sports Channel and the IHSA is prohibited. Well, the city of Chicago is famous for its sports, the two-time champion Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, both baseball teams. But thanks to a revolutionary new program, Chicago is also now receiving national attention for its urban gymnastics program. The inner city youth of Chicago face many challenges, not the least of which is finding and choosing enjoyable, safe forms of recreation on the sometimes mean streets. But there are quality choices out there, like the Chicago Park District's 4-year-old citywide gymnastics program, a program that bucked the odds and has become a huge success. This is the Harrison Park Recreation Center in the city's Pilsen district. It just opened earlier this year, and it represents the cornerstone of the Chicago Park District's gymnastics program. The instruction here is first-rate. The equipment is state-of-the-art. But if it were not for the very diligent efforts of several people a few years ago, gymnastics would not even have been a part of this brand-new center.
There was no support in the Hispanic community for adding a gymnastics center at the time of the vote. So it was necessary to send Miss Jacqueline White, the director of gymnastics for this, the Chicago Park District, and members of their staff out to Pilsen to meet with the advisory council here at the park, talk to the leaders of the community, talk to the politicians who represent this community, to convince them that a gymnastics center would be a boon for the children of this community.
What the Harrison Park Center may lack in air conditioning, it more than makes up for in other areas, like equipment. The quality of the apparatus here is the kind usually found in top clubs or university programs. The coaching is also outstanding.
We're going to jump back and forth. Ready? Forward.
Whether it's for the preschoolers or the elite girls team here.
Quick. Okay. Go, okay.
There are many reasons for the tremendous success here and around the Chicago Park District.
We've made our program affordable for anybody in the city. Economic status has nothing to do with it. If they have no money at all, we don't charge them anything. And I think that's real important right there. Another thing is just the accessibility of the sport of gymnastics. You don't have to be big, you don't have to be tall, you don't have to, you know, there's certain requirements you need to play football, basketball, etc. Gymnastics, you can be any size and basically any temperament, and if you have a good work ethic, you can be a decent gymnast. And it's a very challenging activity on a personal level. I think those are the things that attract the children off the streets.
One popular program is offered to young men aged 12 to 18 who might otherwise be tempted to find their fun on the streets. Coaching these gymnasts is more than teaching flips and vaults.
I'm more of a friend to them, and also some of the kids like a father figure to them, because they would come to me own question about, what's going on in school with them. And I'll sit down and tell them, how hard it was for me to come up. As far as being in gymnastics, doing something I love. And I feel that every kid that does something that they love should always stick with it.
Most city gymnasts of high school age are forced to join expensive clubs or rely on the Park District. But the architects of this program hope what they're doing will help change that.
Men's gymnastics especially is on the downswing in the country and in Illinois and in the high schools. Many high schools have canceled men's gymnastic programs and some women programs. And throughout the country, NCAA have canceled men's programs, states, high schools all over the country. What we're trying to do here is build a base of gymnastics in the city of Chicago, which we have done. I mean, there's 5,700 and some children presently in the program. Those children are learning gymnastics and getting older. They're going to have to go to high school here in Chicago. We've begun preliminary negotiations with high schools in Chicago trying to convince them to add gymnastics as a sport in their school.
While the media seems to be filled with stories about failed programs, this program is a blueprint for how to succeed in bringing important values to Chicago's next generation.
Rob, clearly that's a very successful Chicago Park District program. In 1993 alone, along with their 8-week sessions and their summer camps, some 10,000 Chicago youngsters will pass through that program, and it has to help the high school end of the sport because a lot of these youngsters, as it was pointed out in the piece, are going to demand that there's gymnastics in their school.
Absolutely. Those are tremendous numbers, and the sport definitely needs it. What's going to happen is as these athletes develop and come of age, there's going to be pressures put on the high school to start gymnastics programs. There's going to be hundreds of kids coming in saying, hey, I want a gymnastics team. And it's also important farther in the future because these gymnasts are going to become coaches, and it builds on itself. So this is a great program, not only for Chicago, but for the sport of gymnastics.
Well, we have some great stuff coming on our program. The parallel bars and the always popular high bars, including the all-around champion, John Wasik, who will try and smash the record. That's coming up as we continue here on the 1993 IHSA State Gymnastics Championships on Sports Channel. Randy Hahn and Rob Brown back with you in Arlington Heights at the 1993 State Boys Gymnastics Meet. And we move on to our final two events, the parallel bars and the high bar, beginning on the P bars, if you will, from Downers Grove South, Dave Gasson.
And Dave's working nicely now. I'm out with a glide back straddle. And he moves from a V to a press handstand. Let's look for some swing here. And there's a nice back toss. Through to a cast support to upper arm, back upright struggle. And right there, you saw him, that was an extra swing. And that's going to be a 3/10 deduction. Now he's picked up, moved again into like a 3/4 front flip, back up to the handstand, and a nice back flip dismount. Nice routine, except for that extra swing, which is going to be a 3/10 deduction. And here's the requirements on the P-bars. You're required to do one B-value release move where both hands release the bars and regrasp, and one C-value swing skill.
And now to the high bar. Our first competitor, Kevin Kapersky from Ottawa.
And Kevin mounts with a back upright pirouette. Nice giant swings. And there's a release move, back with a half called a Ginger. Beautifully done. No form breaks, nice extension on the regrasp. Moves back into Giants. Beautiful pirouette into Eagle Giants. Hop pirouette off. And now he's winding up for the dismount. Nice tuck double back dismount. Small step, otherwise great routine.
Kevin Kapersky from Ottawa, who was the third highest qualifier with a 9.30 as we look at the high bar requirements.
Okay, you have to swing forward and backwards on the high bar. You have to have a change in direction, and you have to do a release move where both hands release and regress of at least B value.
Now back to the parallel bars, Mike Mirabelli from Libertyville.
And there's a glide, back straddle, press the handstand. And here's something called a giant bail to front uprise. And look at that, beautiful V, and you can see how virtuous it was. His feet were over his head, his legs and his face. Beautifully done. And that's a skill called a Stutz. Back up to handstand. And now he's going to do a sideways flyaway. Kind of an original dismount.
Have not
nice
seen
routine.
that before. Mike Mirabelli with a unique dismount.
And here again, here's the second half of his routine. There's that Stutz, small form break with the legs coming apart. And here's the dismount. He's going to pirouette out to the outside, bail sideways, and do a flyaway. And that's something you usually see on the high bar.
Downers Grove South's Jim Wetchman on the high bar.
And Jim also mounts with a back up rise through the handstand pirouette. There's a blind change, taking care of his change of direction in a full pirouette. And now watch this, he rolls one hand to the L grip and another hand to the L grip. Now he's in eagle giants, his wrists are turned. Hops out, and he's gonna wind up for his dismount. Wow, a double twisting flyaway. Very unique, you don't see that. You usually see the double flips. Beautifully done. So far in high bar, 2 excellent routines.
Wetchman with a 9-0 to qualify in the 10 slot. He may have improved upon that with that great dismount.
Tremendously. Look at the twist, beautiful form. Comes out of it, spots the landing.
Boy, he nailed it.
Great job.
So we go back to the parallel bars. Mirabelli, who had that unique dismount an apparatus ago with an 8-7, takes over the lead. Now Dave Masiola from Hersey in Arlington Heights. We're in his neighborhood.
And Dave mounted with a glide kip, and now he's doing double leg circles on the end. And again, so that's something he stole from the pommel horse. And there's that giant front uprise, a dip, back straddle cut, a front uprise back straddle cut, kind of variations of the same skill. So far moving very well. There's a press to handstand. And a nice layout back off. Nice job. Clean, fulfilled all his requirements and got off. So it should score very well. And again, let's take a look at the last part of his routine. There's the press to handstand. Right here's gonna bail, back off, nails the landing. Nice job.
Back to the high bar. Peter Sorek from Leyden in Franklin Park.
And he mounts with a hop, reverse kip. And he rolls one hand into the L grip, and there's the other hand. Again, both his wrists are turned. That's a requirement on high bar. And when you're doing giants with those turned wrists, they're called eagles. There was a one-arm giant, another one-arm giant. So far moving very nicely. And a nice front with a half-turn dismount. Very clean, nice routine. Didn't have quite as much difficulty as the first 2 performers, but again, nice. Let's take a look at those one-arm giants. And again, you can imagine all the force going through the bottom, how difficult it is to hold on with that one arm. And now the dismount. He's going to come off forward with a half turn and sticks the landing.
We have another judges conference going on now as we await the next event on the parallel bars.
And anybody give anything back?
Yep. I gave 3. I gave him 2.
Give as much as 2 or 3
I only
back.
had 4 tenths off. I have to give him 1 back under, and then I gave another 10th back.
Talking about these 2 scores, Judge 4 and Judge 1.
I'm Judge 1.
Okay, I'll go up 1, John. You want to come down? We gain range.
And again,
come down?
The judges are talking about the bonus aspect of the routine. I think they've gone through and said, hey, we're all straight on the skills he did, but what about virtuosity and originality? Did you give him anything back? You can hear them saying, oh yeah, I gave him 1 back or 2 back, and that's where the differences are.
It's the areas in the non-black and white that the discussion is about.
I took 2 tenths off what to do. Come on, quick. I felt he was super clean. That's why I thought
Move this one down one.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Now those gentlemen are certainly getting a lot of airtime. Perhaps that's the reason for their increased meetings.
Yeah, I often wonder if they feel left out and they do that on purpose.
We'll wait for the score. Massiola, the prior competitor on the parallel bars, got a 9-0 as we go back to that apparatus. And Kevin Izumi, who we've seen a lot of tonight from Elk Grove Village, will get set for his P-bar routine.
And Kevin mounts with a peach back straddle cut. Very difficult skill. Back upright straddle cut. Press the handstand. Now Kevin moves really nicely. You can see there's no hesitations. And he's going to drop back to a cast support. And there's another glide back straddle to a dip swing back straddle. Kevin obviously very strong with these straddle cut skills. Presses the handstand. And the dismount, layout back of the half. Nice routine. He moved very smoothly, had no hesitations, no major breaks.
He was third in qualifying with a 9-1-0 behind Wasik in the top qualifier, Darian Knight.
And again, let's take a look at the dismount. He presses up to handstand. This guy shows a nice body position. Bails, layout back with a half twist, small step. But otherwise, nice routine.
And now the moment everybody has been waiting for, John Wasik, who qualified with a 9.80 in this, which is clearly his best event on the high bar.
This is going to be great. And right now, he's swinging giants with the wrong grip, which is very risky and original. And there's a one-arm Ginger. Beautiful. You saw the height, the extension. Great routine so far. Back into front giants. Now he's going to roll into those eagle giants. Both wrists are turned. Hops out. And now the dismount. Watch this. Double twisting, double layout. Oh, he over-rotates it a little bit. But otherwise, tremendously difficult routine. That dismount was new for him. And you could see, just had a little bit too much and over-rotated and went to his rear end. Let's take a look at that dismount. Look at the speed it's generating right here. Now watch, 2 flips, 2 twists. And just pulls it through a little too far and goes to his rear end.
Keep in mind, this is a 17-year-old high school senior and pulling off moves of the international variety, and he is going to be a real standout at the University of Illinois in their college gymnastics program there. We'll wait for his score as we go back to the parallel bars. This is Ryan Trent, an earlier winner. Trent came in with a qualifying score of 9.05, number 4.
And Ryan moving quite well at this point, did some nice back straddle moves. And there's a press on 1 bar. You can imagine how difficult that is. Nice side glide kip. Now he's doing a straddle plunge. That's a strength move. Nice dip back cut. You can see the nice virtuosity gets off the bar. And in front with a half turn, sticks the landing. Great routine. A lot of virtuosity, a lot of originality with the 1 bar press and the side glide. Again, there's that straddle plunge. It's a strength move. Not required on P-bars, but it's if you've got it, go ahead and use it. And there's that dip back straddle cut. Front uprise, front with a half, and of course the stuck landing.
Well, interestingly, John Wasik will not win high bar. He received a 9.2 for his exercise as we go back to that apparatus and Mike Gendrius from Wheeling.
And he mounts with a nice back upright stalter, another stalter. And there's a blind change. Now he's changed directions and a full pirouette. And he's going to roll the hand into that L grip, doing eagle giants. Nice clean routine, hop pirouette out. And again, look for the stuck landing here. Tuck double back, nice height. There it is, nails it, great routine. High bar has been very tough so far. All the athletes, nice clean form, all the difficulty, and sticking their landings. And again, look at the dismount. Look at the height, way over the bar. Nice tuck position, spots the floor, kicks out, and sticks the landing. Great job.
Wheeling's Mike Gendrius, his final performance for us tonight as we go back to the high bar, or to the parallel bar rather, and Todd Sapancic.
And he has trouble right away. I think he was supposed to do a back straddle cut there and didn't quite pull it off. But he moves back into his set. There's a stutz to a dip back cut to a full twisting stutz. Something very unique. And again, there's an extra swing. Really didn't get in the groove. nice layout back. Kind of had trouble right from the get-go. Didn't get in the groove. I'm not even sure if he did the routine he wanted to. And again, there's the Stutz and the back cut. And watch this full twisting Stutz. Something that I haven't seen in international competition.
Now Kevin Izumi will go to the high bar. Right now a two-way tie for the lead in this event. Peter Sorek and Mike Gendrius both with 9.25, but keep in mind Darian Knight still to come on this apparatus.
And Kevin mounts with a nice back upright Stalter. And there's a Higgins. He's going to roll that hand and pulls it over. That's that Eagle Giant. Hops out, moving nicely. There's a cross arm Giant. Pirouette. And now he's going to get ready for his dismount. A full twisting double back. Nails a landing. He's going to be right in there pushing for that top spot. Great routine.
Kevin Izumi of Elk Grove Village, who was the 4th best qualifier with the fine performance on the high bar.
And again, watch the dismount. 2 flips with 1 twist, spots the floor, and puts it right in there, sticks the landing. So up to this point, I think high bar's living up to its name. It's been very exciting.
It certainly is always a fan favorite, and we get a score called out for the prior parallel bar performance of 8.35. That was the one turned in by Sapancic. Now Darian Knight. Knight qualified #1 at 9.4 on the P-bars.
And there's a unique turn. That was a kip with a half turn to support. And he's moving through some straddle cuts to an L. Nice straddle press to handstand. And now for some swinging seals. Nice Stutz. Dip back straddle cut. Another dip back straddle cut. And again, you can see him struggling a little bit here while he pressed up. That's going to be a small deduction. And a tuck double back. Oh, he pulls it through. Big dismount for Darian on the P-bars. Really the strongest P-bar set we've seen up to this point. Now let's take a look at that dismount. He just pressed up the handstand. He's going to bail. 2 flips. 1, 2. Pulls it through. Little hop on the landing. Otherwise, great set.
We will see Darian Knight once more on the high bar as we go back to that apparatus. Brad Panazzo from Beecher. Our first look at Brad in the competition.
And he moves through a back uprise with Stalter. Ooh, on a 1 arm to a front flip. And of course, he takes the fall. That's going to be 5/10. But he added a twist, no pun intended, to the 1 arm release move we saw earlier by Wozniak.
Now he's allowed to rechock here.
He has 30 seconds to remount, and you can imagine after taking a fall like that, you're going to want a few seconds to regain your breath. And look at him reaching for the bar, doesn't quite get it. His coach tries to slow him down. That's the chance you take, and that's why high bar is so exciting.
Panazzo qualified 8th at 9.05. He's a junior.
And he'll be given 1 skill to kind of get back in the swing of things. And here he goes. Now the judges will start judging again. And there's a cross arm. Rolls the hand into those Eagle Giants. Nice hop out. And that's another Stalter. Came out a little flat. He's having troubles here getting the swing back. And there's a pirouette. And he'll get ready for his dismount. Another double twisting flyaway. Really surprised to see those dismounts. They're really much more difficult than they look. Unfortunately, that fall earlier is going to cost him 5/10. And again, watch him get ready for his dismount here. Pirouette. He's going to do those speed giants. And watch your 1 flip double twist. Spots the landing. Takes a small step.
We're back at the parallel bars. Jason Foreman from Naperville North.
And he just did a beautiful glide right to a V. And there's that straddle plunge again. Back straddle cut. And there's a cast to upper arm. Another back straddle cut. And a back studs. Right, 2 back up, rise out. Working very well up to this point. Nice press to handstand. And a nice back with a half small step. Great routine.
Nice work by Jason Foreman, hoping to improve on his 9.0 in qualifying. We should mention before moving on that Darian Knight did pick up a 9.3 on his parallel bar event to move into a tie for first.
We're taking a look at the mid part of his routine there. There's a nice back upright straddle cut L. Nice press to handstand.
Mike Mirabelli from Libertyville.
And there's another back uprise to Stalter. Beautiful blind change right to that eagle grip. Very difficult. And that Stalter's called an endo. There's another endo. Beautiful swing right now. And a nice tuck double back. A little trouble on the landing. Great set. Nice extension. Showed some in-bar work. And again, I wouldn't want to judge high bar tonight. All the routines have been very good. It's going to be tough to differentiate. And watch the dismount here. Nice high tuck double back. And you can see his legs look a little tired. He had to take a step back.
Josh Resnick from Niles West. The second to last parallel bar performance. The final one will be by John Wasik, and that will be his final performance as a high school senior.
And we just saw a tremendous show of strength. He did a glide back straddle to a straddle plunge, and then put his legs together and pressed up to a handstand. Some nice straddle cut work. And the trouble right there, as he swung to handstand, he needed to get all the way to handstand and hold it for 2 seconds. And you can see the disappointment on his face. He knows it. And again, that's going to be counted as an extra swing. That's a 3/10 deduction. Now watch right here. He needs to get all the way up to handstand. Doesn't quite get there. Has to take the extra swing. There's a nice pike back off. So unfortunately, that extra swing is going to cost him 3/10 and unfortunately knock him down quite a bit.
And now we move to the high bar again, and an opportunity for Darian Knight to really take advantage of John Wasik's mistake on his landing earlier in this competition. Knight with a chance here to steal the high bar. He qualified second with a 9.45. Right now the score to beat is a 3-way tie at 9.25, and that is certainly within his reach.
And really in finals, we talked earlier about athletes maybe adding some skills in finals, trying to have some fun. At this point, Darian might say, hey, why don't I just do the routine I did last night and go for the win, rather than take a chance of adding something, taking a fall, and then knocking himself out of medal contention.
He averaged a 9.32 in his all-around this year, finishing behind Wasik, and people are talking about this young man as a potential Olympian.
And that's he's definitely young enough to start planning on those things. As a sophomore, probably a 16-year-old.
5'10" and 180 pounds. Tremendous upper body strength, which obviously comes into play tremendously in this event.
And something unique, he did that back upright pirouette, but he hopped through the pirouette. And watch this. Boom! Oh! And he missed it. He was trying to do a Tkachev. And you saw him reach, his hand slipped out the bar, and he had to take the drop.
And the Tkachev is a release that he did execute earlier this year.
And watch right here. He's going to tap. He's got to throw a little sooner. Not enough rotation, can't get to the bar. Has to take the fall, 5/10. He's got 30 seconds.
Well, that probably knocks him out right there of contention here in the high bar.
But he's got to keep his thoughts together, come back up here and get every 10th. Maybe he can still finish in the top 5. And moves back into Giants. He's going to do the skill again. And he's got trouble on it again.
Well, you can't criticize him for not trying, because he certainly went for it, and I think in his mind realizing that he is very capable of the move, obviously in training and has done it in competition earlier this year. Feels he wants to do it here in the state meet, and it's just not happening for him. And one senses that his first mistake on it led to the second.
That's right, and actually trying to fulfill that release move requirement, he actually needed to do that again. And he's getting some support from the crowd.
Now, will he try it a third time?
No, after you, a third attempt at any skill is a deduction, repetition deduction. And that was a nice full twisting one-arm giant. So not holding back at all. Beautiful turn into that eagle grip. Nice pirouette. And now he's going to wind up for his dismount. Nice double back in the pike position. Takes a small step. So a nice routine besides the two falls. But as you mentioned, those falls will knock you right out of contention.
Well, we will see that man back here next year, no doubt, in 1994. And don't be surprised if he is the man to beat next year. The man to beat this year, and really for the last couple of years, the two-time all-around champion, and now the best all-around athlete in this sport's state history, John Wasik, with his final high school performance.
And a beautiful mount so far. He did a beautiful front and a quarter, which is very unique. Nice stutz to handstand. Another nice stutz. And up to this point, we haven't seen anyone swing as well. Oh, we had a little trouble there. You saw the legs come down on the bars. Small deduction. There's a press to handstand. Another dismount. Nice tuck double back. Small hop. Great routine. As I mentioned, no one has swung as well as he did during this P-bar routine.
The score to beat for Wasik is a 9-3. We'll see if that was good enough as we take another look.
And again, watch the dismount. Nice swing, nice height. Takes a small hop. But on such a difficult routine, I think we'll give it to him.
Now our final competitor in the high bar, Mike Bush from Glenbrook North. Mike qualified 5th with a 9-1-0. That would not be good enough to finish in the top spot here. 9-2-5 is the score to beat, and right now there's a three-way tie.
And moving nicely right now, he went back upright pirouette, nice free hip. That's a blind change. There's that roll into the eagle giants. Moving nicely right now. Another cross arm giant. Full pirouette. And now he's going to get ready for his dismount. Here are those speed giants. Whoa, nice full twisting double. Little trouble on the landing. He took the dismount out a little too far, didn't have the rotation, had to touch the hands on the landing. Nice routine up to that point. Now let's take a look at the dismount. Watch right here off the bar. He lets go a little early. He's out too far. Not enough rotation. He's pulling as hard as he can. Just not enough there. He's got to touch the hands. And again, that's going to be a 3 to 5/10 deduction.
So we are done with the competition. We will have the final results of the parallel bars and the high bar competition, as well as the results of our overall T-bar, or our overall rather team competition. That's coming up as we continue. Randy Hunt and Rob Brown back in Arlington Heights. The competition is over for 1993. Time to look at our final two sets of results. In the parallel bars, John Wasik comes up with the winning performance again. The Mundelein senior with a 9-4. Ryan Trent, who had a great meet here this weekend, ties for second with Darian Knight with the 9-3s. Kevin Azumi in the 4 spot from Elk Grove at 9-1-5, and then Jason Foreman from Naperville North at 9-0-5. And in the high bar, a 3-way tie for first, so there will be a lot of medals handed out. Kevin Azumi, Mike Gendrius, and Peter Sorek all with the 9-2-5. John Wasik finishes with the 9-2-0 as we have a 3-way tie essentially for the number 4 spot as well. So I hate to make this the John Wasik show and talk so much about him and his performances, but he was certainly the dominant athlete in high school gymnastics in 1993. His performance on the high bar today, kind of a risk-taking one, and it cost him a little bit, as you saw in the scores there.
That's right. He was head and feet against anyone else in terms of swing on P-bars. Look at the beautiful stutz to handstand here. Another stutz. No one swung as well as he did tonight on P-bars. Nice back upright straddle cut. So really just stood out tonight. No one was able to touch him on this event.
Wasik with the 9-4 to win the parallel bars, and then he had his difficulties on the high bar. But overall, just a tremendous performance by John Wasik in 1993 as he now moves out of the IHSA gymnastics scene and on to college gymnastics, and we'll watch him with interest at Illinois. We will take a break and come back with more as we continue our coverage of the State Boys Meet here on Sports Channel. We're back in Arlington Heights, where the 1993 State Gymnastics Boys Championships are history, and the team results are in. We knew going in that Mundelein was going to win this thing. The question is who would finish second and third. Naperville North went in number 2. They finished number 2 with 154.45 points, just ahead of Libertyville, who made a bit of a move but not enough. And rounding out the rest of the field here this evening, Conant, Homewood Flossmoor, Rolling Meadows, and Addison Trail. Now let's go to Rob Brown, who's standing by with the all-around champion John Wasik and his coach from Mundelein, Doug Farrick. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Randy. John, you had a very consistent meet yesterday, and tonight it looked like you might have tried some new skills. Is that what happened out here? Did you try to have some fun and throw in some new tricks?
Yeah, the main thing was just to have fun at this meet, because the team competition was pretty much over, and we threw a few new skills in there. We threw a Thomas on floor and a double-double on high bar. And we threw in a couple skill on rings and a new routine on pommel horse.
And I understand you're going to attend the University of Illinois. Do you have any aspirations to try to make national team and maybe shoot for some international competitions in the future?
Yeah, we're going to start training compulsories over the summer a little bit. And my future goal is just try to make the USA team and the national team.
Great, congratulations, John. And Coach Doug Farrick, you've accomplished quite a bit this year again with another championship. When do you start preparing for next year, and how does it look?
I think in the kids' minds, they're preparing already for next year. There are a lot of tough teams that didn't graduate much. We unfortunately graduate kids like John and a lot of other good seniors. So I can't really predict how we'll do. I think we'll be back. I think we'll maybe be in a hunt for a trophy. That's about all I can say about that.
And what does it take? How often do you train, and are you going year-round to get your team prepared for these competitions?
Yeah, we basically start tomorrow, and we'll continue until a year from today. That's basically what we've done for the last 4 or 5 years. The kids train maybe all but 2 weeks of the year, and six days a week is pretty common.
Great, gentlemen, congratulations. Randy?
All right, so Mundelein, a powerhouse in the late 80s and 90s when they won back-to-back titles, pick up their third title in the last 5 years as they win the overall team competition. And John Wasik this year becomes the greatest athlete gymnastics-wise in the history of Illinois as we look at the Mundelein High School 1993 team champions as they celebrate here in Arlington Heights. Sports Channel would like to take this opportunity to thank some people, not the least of which is H. David Fry, Susan Hinrichsen, and all those at Illinois High School Association for making this championship event possible. And we would also like to thank Skip Ray and David Good for their cooperation in the coordination of this event. You're reminded our coverage of the world champion Chicago Bulls drive for the three-peat continues on Monday, May 17th, Game 4, perhaps the deciding one against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It all starts with tip-off 93 at 6:30. This game was produced and directed by Jim Corno Jr. Graphics coordinator was Doug Stanton. Remote facilities provided by Trio Video. Our executive producer is Greg Bowman. For Rob Brown, I'm Randy Hahn saying so long, everybody. The preceding has been an exclusive presentation of Sports Channel.